Today's episode is brought to you by the Daily Gardener Friday newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, a podcast about garden history and literature. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling, and today is March 22nd. Today in garden history, we celebrate the feast day of St. Catherine of Sweden for Roman Catholics. The wildflower Ficaria verna, or lesser celandine, is known as St. Catherine's flower. Lesser celandine is a charming harbinger of spring, and their yellow blossoms add a touch of cheer to any woodland carpet. St. Catherine is also the patron saint of women who suffer miscarriage. And today we remember Thomas Carew, the English poet who died on this day, March 22nd in 1640. Thomas was a member of the Cavalier group of Caroline poets, and he wrote a popular poem called The Spring. Here's an excerpt. The earth hath lost her snow-white robes, and now no more the frost candies the grass, or casts an icy cream upon the silver lake or crystal stream. But the warm sun thaws the benumbed earth and makes it tender, gives a sacred birth to the dead swallow, wakes in hollow tree the drowsy cuckoo and the humble bee. And it was on this day that the New York Horticultural Society was founded, March 22nd in 1822. The NYHS was America's first horticultural society, and it remained active until the late 1800s. But while the Massachusetts and the Pennsylvania Hort Societies flourished, the New York Society faltered and eventually fizzled out. In 1837, a frustrated member wrote a letter to the magazine of Horticulture and Botany, blaming lagging membership on the city's decline in morality and an overwhelming focus on prosperity. So much so that people couldn't, quote, afford to patronize a horticultural exhibition. In truth, the club had fallen victim to the poor economy of the 1830s, compounded by the fact that they had lost one of their leading members, the great botanist David Hosack. David had brought prestige and an instant community of elite horticulturists with him to the society. But when he died, the wealthy members fell away from the group, and the organization struggled to remain relevant. And although the group tried repeatedly to get support to build a botanical garden for the great city of New York, they never had the momentum to make it happen. Finally, in the 1890s, a new movement led by the botanist power couple of Nathaniel Lord and Elizabeth Britton ultimately resulted in the New York Botanical Garden, but the New York Horticultural Society drifted into history. And today is also the birthday of Christine Johanna Buisman, the Dutch botanist who was born on this day, March 22nd in 1900. Christine worked on the all-female team of scientists that tried to solve the problem of Dutch elm disease. The team was led by the great botanist Johanna Westerdijk. Christine is remembered for discovering that the fungus Graphium ulmi was the cause of Dutch elm disease in North America. She died young at the age of 36, but was remembered by her peers, who named the first resistant elm clone in her honor. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The Earth in Her Hands by Jennifer Jewell. This book came out in 2020, and the subtitle is 75 Extraordinary Women Working in the World of Plants. Well, what I love about this book is that Jennifer covers so many different fields of work that entail working with plants. And the careers profiled include everything from floral design and landscape architecture to herbalism, food justice, farming, and botany, just to name a few. Jennifer wrote in the foreword to her book, "The hardest part of writing this book was choosing the women to include, but my hope is that this collection is informative and inspiring for all readers." Well, I love books like this that profile people and their connection to plants and the planet. This book is a satisfying 324 pages of beautiful and memorable stories featuring 75 extraordinary women and how they cultivate their spaces, one handful of plant-rich earth at a time. You can get a copy of The Earth in Her Hands by Jennifer Jewell and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for around $7. Great book. Finally, we end the show today with a botanic spark that celebrates the birthday of John Banister Tabb, the American poet and Catholic priest who was born on this day, March 22nd, in 1845. Here's a favorite poem of mine from John, and it's called An Interview. I sat with chill December beside the evening fire. And what do you remember, I ventured to inquire, of seasons long forsaken? He answered in amaze, my age you have mistaken. I've lived but 30 days. And here's John's clever little poem about the life cycle of a dandelion. With locks of gold today, tomorrow silver gray, then blossom bald, behold, O man, thy fortune told. Well, that's it for today's show. Just remember that you have a standing invitation to join the free Facebook group for listeners of the show. The next time you're over at Facebook, just search for Daily Gardener Community, where you'd search for a friend and then request to join. And if you'd like more of The Daily Gardener, you can subscribe to the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. And don't forget that you can also show your support for the show by using the Buy Me a Coffee link over at the website or in today's show notes. This is Jennifer Ebling. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.